Hello, welcome back. If you're new to my channel, it's wonderful to have you here. Thank you so much for joining me. I picked up these rather beautiful lights which are in very poor condition, so I'm going to be fixing them up. So as you can see, they've seen better days. So the first thing I'm going to do is dismantle them. So I've got two of them and give them a good clean. To take the shades off, all you do is unscrew this little piece and then the shade comes off. So, a lot of dust in everywhere, lots of rust, but I think they'll turn out rather beautiful. Now that I've cleaned it, it's even more beautiful than I thought it was. So that's the base of it, but I'm going to take some sandpaper and I'm going to sand all the rust off, and then I'm going to be spray painting it gold. I've taped my whole lamp with masking tape and newspaper, and now I'm going to be using this super gold spray paint and spray painting all the pieces that I want gold. I've spray painted them all gold, and I'm particularly happy with the coverage of this particular gold paint. It looks absolutely beautiful. I'm working on the lampshade now, so what I've done is I've removed the outer covering, and now I'm going to be cutting the lampshade so that I've got a small section at the top here to work with. I've marked the 5 centimeters around the shade, and now I'm going to be cutting along that line and getting rid of all of the bottom section. I've cut a 1/2 centimeter strip of the book wrap, which I'm using to wrap around the little shafts of the light fitting. I'm taking my shade and I'm just tracing around the little piece where the light fitting goes, and I'm adding 2 millimeters onto the side here so that I can draw a circle and cut it out. So that's what the little circle looks like, and I'm going to cut this center piece out. So I've got my little piece, and now I'm going to take some of my silver reflective book wrap, and I'm just going to be putting it on the top and covering it. Before you put your contact paper on, make sure that your little circle is fitting over your light fitting. I've covered the one side, and now I'm just going to take this little piece and flip it over and cover the other side. I've glued the little silver piece that we just made onto my frame, so it's like that. So it'll be sitting on top of the lamp like that. I'm using a soft drink bottle box, and I'm just cutting some strips of 5 centimeters wide. The next thing I've done is I've cut another cardboard circle, and the radius of the cardboard is 10 centimeters for the outer circle, and the inner circle is 7 centimeters, and just cut that out. And then I'm going to be gluing the piece of cardboard around my circle like that. I'm just going to be using some hot glue to glue my piece of cardboard around the circle that we just cut out. And now I'm going to cover this whole piece with the book wrap. And to cover the top of it, I'm going to be taking a disc of the silver book wrap, and I'm just going to be gluing that on to cover the cardboard. And I've got an assortment of little things that I'm going to be working with. So I've got these clear crystal garlands, which are 1 centimeter wide, and then I've got another set of garlands which are 2 centimeters wide, and then I've got some of these little droplets that I'm going to be using, and I've got some of this metal ribbon, and I'm going to be using this glitter contact paper as well. I'm taking my garland of beads and I'm just measuring it all the way around the side so that I can work out exactly how many strands that I need to cut. So that goes up to there. So that's the amount of strands that I need, which is 45 strands of beads which I'm going to be cutting. I'm going to be using some more of my self-adhesive book covering, which is the silver one, and I've got some bling wrap as well, which I'm going to be cutting just one strip, and I'm going to be gluing it onto these little pieces of metal that holds the light fitting in place. And the self-adhesive book covering I'm going to be gluing or sticking on the inside all the way around the inner frame. I've just cut little strips into it so that when I go around I can fold it over, so that because the top and the bottom are different sizes, so I need it to collapse over. I've got all my silver paper in the top, and now I'm just going to be gluing these little pieces onto here. I'm just using a hot glue gun to do this. And I'm going to do all 3 of them. I've cut 15 rows of 16 beads each, and I'm going to be gluing them around the small center part at the top underneath my shade. I've just put them on masking tape so I could get the right amount, and I'm just going to glue those all on like that. Just try and make sure that the little piece of string is lying straight. Now that I've got all the beads glued onto this top section here, I'm going to just be extending the beads, and I'm going to be gluing the very last bead onto the edge, and I'm just going to be trying to separate them so that they're coming in line with where they are, but obviously there's going to be gaps in between because the center is smaller than the outer, so do the best that you can to just line them up on the side and glue them down. I'm doing the outer ones first. And then I'm taking the center one and then gluing the next ones a good distance apart from the first and the middle. I've got them all glued into place, and now we can turn it over and it should hang all nicely like that. So that's how the inner section is hanging. I've got these garlands that have got little rings in the middle, so all I'm doing now is I'm attaching 9 of them, because out of the 45 strands that we've done, I'm taking 9 of these little beads, and I'm going to be attaching one of the little dangles to that. I find when you're working with trying to separate these little pieces, it's better to hold on to the whole piece. I'm just using a small little coin to separate it so that I can place this piece onto it. So once you locate where the hole is, then it's easier to just slide it through and then thread it on. And then I do the same thing to take the top one off by just separating it and then slipping it through and then pulling that one off. So you've got your little piece all prepared for the next step. For the next step, I'm going to be using this jewelry wire, which is a silver coated copper wire, and it's a 26 gauge, and I'm taking about 10 centimeters for this. I've just partly folded my little wire in half, and now I'm placing it around the last bead of the chain, and I'm just going to tie that. So just doing a little turn like that, and then what I'm doing is I'm taking the wire and I'm placing it over the bead, and I'm trying to line it up with the thread. As you can see, these beads have got a thread that runs through, so I'm just placing it over the thread on both sides, and then once again attaching it at the bottom by just twisting the wires. So the little wire is in place like that on the bottom of the bead, and now I'm going to be taking one of the pieces that we just made, and in the top of the bead it's got a little hole, which I'm just going to be threading the wire through that little hole, and then we're just going to attach the wires together as well. So once again, just turning the wires, so it's very fine to see. So we've got the wires all connected like that. I've made them quite long so that I can thread them back through that little hole just here, and just the excess wire that's on the end I'm just going to be trimming off. I'm going to be gluing the outer frame to the inner frame, and I'm just gluing along the line here and then gluing it all together. And now I'm going to be taking 2 rows of the bling wrap, and I'm just going to be gluing it on the inside all the way around. I'm going to be starting to work on the outer section. Now I've cut all my beads, so we've got the center one which I'm working off, which is one strand which is 15 beads long, and then we've attached the large bead at the bottom, and then next to that I've got 2 strands of beads which are 17s, and next to those I've got 2 that are 15s. So I've made 13 sets like that, and if I can make a suggestion, try and attach them all with masking tape before you glue them down so that you can get your spacings correct. I've taped all my beads on, and as you can see there's a little bit of a gap here, so now when I glue them on I just have to make the little gaps just a little bit bigger so that I can close this gap here. That's why I suggest that you tape it all on, otherwise you're going to have a wee gap like that. I've got all my beads glued on, and now I'm going to be taking some more of the beads, and I'm just going to be placing them just around the top here so that I can even it out for my ribbon. So we're just going to glue a row of beads all the way around the top. I've got the extra row of beads glued along the top, and now what I'm doing, I'm going to be taking this metallic ribbon and I'm going to be gluing that on top. So I've put the beads down so that it levels this. And then just glue it all the way around. I'm going to be using these 12mm round AB pieces which look like that, and I'm going to be gluing one in each of the little ovals all the way around. the top. So I've gone all the way around, and that's what they look like. I've got an assortment of these beautiful little acrylic roses, and I'm taking one of the large roses, and in between the two oval shapes I'm going to be gluing one of the large roses on top of this little flower design. And then next to that I'm going to be gluing two of the small roses. I'm just using hot glue to glue these down. So we've got those three roses in place now. And then I'm going to be taking some of our ribbon and I'm going to be cutting one small piece off. So I'm just using my flush cutters and I'm going to be cutting in the center of this circle. So just cut that off. So you've got one little piece like that. And now I'm going to be removing this center piece. So once again, just taking the flush cutters and cutting this piece out. So I've got the whole piece dismantled, so that was the center flower like that, and these are the two side pieces. So what I'm going to be doing is taking this center flower piece and I'm going to be placing it on top of the roses like that, and I'm going to just glue that on with hot glue. Then I'm taking the corner piece of the circle and I'm just going to be gluing that to there. And I'm doing the same on the other side. And to cover up the glue where I've glued them all, I'm just going to be using some of the little blings, which are just taking one small piece like that, and I'm going to be gluing it on the pieces where you can see the glue. I find it a little bit easier if you hold them when you're trying to work with one piece and glue it and then trim the other piece off once you've glued it. And now in between, just on that little dot over there, I'm going to be putting a little bling as well. So I've got one there, and then there's going to be on this section underneath, there's 1, 2, 3 that I'm going to be putting on as well. For the top part, I'm taking one of these AB crystals and I'm going to be gluing two pieces of the bling behind it so that I've got one piece sticking up above the stone. So like that, and now I'm going to be gluing that piece onto the top just here. And now I'm going to take some of the same AB crystals and I'm going to be gluing them just onto the top of the flowers and the bottom on just these ones that line up with this particular curve that we've just put in. And I'm going to be doing that design in 4 places, so directly across from each other, and then one will be located here and the next one here. I've glued all my pieces on and now I'm going to be filling this space with a decoration as well. So once again I'm taking one of the large roses and 2 of the small, and I'm just gluing them together. And then I'm going to be using this part of the ribbon that we cut off. So I've got 2 pieces, and I'm going to be gluing them at the back of the small rose like that, and joining them in the center like that. So just like that. And then I'm going to be taking one of the AB stones, and I'm going to be gluing it onto the centerpiece here with the little rhinestones sitting on the top, as we did with the previous ones. I've glued it all together, and now I'm just going to be gluing it onto the top, and I've made 4 of them so that they can fit into the 4 spaces on the top of the shade. And then I'm going to be taking some masking tape and removing all the little strands of glue. I just wrap a masking tape around my fingers, and then you just put it on, and it pulls all the little pieces of glue that are stuck from when you were using the glue. As you can see, it works really nicely by taking off all the little like spider webs, or and just go around the whole thing. And now I'm going to be taking some of the larger roses, and just to cover this ridge over here, I'm going to be gluing some of the roses on there. I removed the shade to put these roses on, and I've got them all the way around now. And then I'm going to be taking some of the large roses, and I'm just going to be gluing them all the way around the base. So I've glued most of them on. Just a few more to go. I'm taking the little piece that screws onto the light fitting, and I'm just going to be gluing some bling wrap around that, and I'm just going to be going tight along the top, and then I'm going to cut one little stone at the bottom so that it can close in. I've cut this one tiny little stone at the bottom so that when I wrap it around the top, because the bottom is so much smaller, that one will just close in like that, to be glued down so it lies flat at the bottom as well. And then just over here where it overlaps a little bit and it closes tight at the top here, I'm going to be cutting these last little 5 rows of stones so that it lies flat. So I've used 8 rows to go all the way down. And that one lies all flat. And now I'm going to be assembling by putting the little piece on top of the light fitting, and then just screwing it down. And I'm going to be doing the other one exactly the same. I'm going to be using one of these, they call them candle decorative globes, and this is a very light watch. So it's only 2 watts and it only has 250 lumens, so it's quite a nice dim one. I've put the little globe inside, and now you can see what it looks like. So as I said, it's quite a nice dim one. My chandeliers are completed now, and there's the final look. So I'm going to be putting them on so you can see what they look like. And they're all lit up. Extremely happy with the way they turned out. If you found this video helpful or you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up. Really appreciate it if you would subscribe. Thank you so much for watching.